Thanks for tuning into No Wine in No Time. I'm your host, Dave, and today we're going to do something just a little bit different. I received a question from one of our viewers, and it said, Dave, it seems like every time you talk about a wine, you love that wine. Are there any trends in the wine world that you don't like? Now, it's funny you asked that question. Today's kind of a gloomy day in our neighborhood, and I'm going to just get a little bit gloomy as we discuss 3 different wine trends that I'm not fond of. And the first one is taking and aging perfectly good wine in liquor barrels. And you may say, well, Dave, I love that trend. Well, let me tell you why I don't. So I'm a bit of a wine purist, and some might even say a wine snob. I believe that the land, the sun, the wind, the country, the overall terroir should impact the wine, and the wine should taste like a reflection of that land. I'm not a big fan of manipulation, and this is one of the biggest ways to manipulate wine. I love tequila. I like bourbon. I like rum. But I don't like it when my wine is influenced by those spirits. What I kind of taste when I taste a Cabernet Sauvignon that's aged in bourbon barrels, or a Zinfandel aged in rum barrels, or even a Sauvignon Blanc aged in tequila barrels, it tastes to me like the wine just has a little bit of a half a shot of that liquor in it, and I don't really get it. I don't like it. I think everything in its own little silo. I like wine, I like spirits. Try not to mix them up. So that's one pet peeve. Let's move on to number 2, and that is these fit wines. I don't really get this. So this is an emerging trend. And I'm as big of a physical fitness nut as anybody. I run continuously. I'm always in the gym. But I think if you're going to drink a wine because you think it's quote unquote healthy, maybe try to drink a little less of that wine. So hear me out on this. This whole fit wine trend is wine that is lower in calories. And the reason why it's lower in calories is because alcohol is the #1 contributor to caloric content in wine. So they actually take a wine, ferment it until it's dry, then use a cycloidal process to spin the alcohol out of the wine. Well, what happens when they do that is they're actually removing a little bit of the ethereal quality of the alcohol and a lot of the flavor. Now, I've had these wines and they're kind of tasteless. They're light, they're dainty. Like I said before, I think just maybe drink a little less as opposed to going to one of these fit wines. The third trend that I'm not a big fan of is one of alternate packaging. So alternate packaging, let's think about wine being done for centuries in bottles. Alternate packaging, I mean things like the little Tetra Paks, in other words, the milk cartons, canned wines, and also box wine. Why? Well, I get why, but it's to mask the quality of the wine. And it's always put across in the name of being green. In other words, look at how we're lowering our carbon footprint with this wine because we're putting it in these biodegradable cardboard packaging. Well, what's inside is plastic. And let's think about recycling glass and actually using natural corks. There could be nothing more green than that process. What it gets down to, and this is where I have the biggest beef, is the cost per liter. Now that is box wine's biggest advantage, but in my opinion, nothing comes without a cost. So when you think about how are these wine producers making these low-priced box wines, think of a 5-liter box wine coming in at the $20 range, or the premium box wines that are 3 liters coming in at the $22 range. How are they doing that? Well, they're doing it by machine picking all the grapes. So you're getting everything from lizards to birds' nests to ripe grapes to unripe grapes. Not very appealing. Then that's all dumped in a hopper. It goes into a factory. Wine comes out the other side. And when they need to change the quality of the wine, they manipulate it. So you might be thinking, well, Dave, you're being a little hard on box wine. But I want you to go out and research an article called Juiced. So what they're doing is actually juicing the wine. And it talks about the 72 different chemicals in a state of California that are used to manipulate bulk wines, things like tartaric acid to raise the tartness, tannin powder to raise the structure, and mega purple to add color. This is unthinkable in some parts of the world, and this is commonplace in box wine. So let's think about your cost per liter. In some of these wines, it's between $2 and $5 a bottle. So if you ever walked into a wine store, would you purchase a $2 bottle of wine? You probably wouldn't, because you'd say, that can't be any good. But that's what you're getting in these large volume box wines. So I'm not a big fan until the day when I start to see a Brunello di Montalcino, a Napa Valley Cabernet Sauvignon, or a Chateauneuf du Pape in a can. I'll probably just stick to the bottle myself. So what I don't want to do is end on a negative note. So first off, thank you for the question. And I wanted to say, if there's anybody out there in No Wine and No Time land and you want to send in a question, just add it as a comment to a video. I read and respond to 100% of the comments that I get, and I usually do it within 24 hours because I'm so appreciative of my audience. You know, I've had the time of my life producing these videos for the past 3 years, and we have almost 150 out right now, and it's just given me great joy to share my passion for wine with all of you. And I really want to thank you guys for tuning in, and I want to ask you to come back next time, because soon you'll know wine in no time.